Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Happy Sunday for all you guys. Right here, sorry, Dead Space Extraction for the Wii. I just played through it. It is a fantastic game. I got a huge kick out of it, and I gotta say I'm disappointed by the sales in this. When I picked this game up, they made the press announcement that they only sold about 9,000 copies of the game, and I was really disappointed because the game is actually really really good, and that's I have that's I guess maybe a testament to the fact of who owns Wii's and who owns 360s. This game was of course famous for being famous PS3, Wii. PS3, PC, and Xbox 360 game. Um, and it was good on those platforms. I love the original Dead Space, and I hate horror games. I don't really play horror games. I don't play horror movies. The only horror movies I watch are basically whenever I watch the Cinema Snob. And this is a great game, and the first one was great too. So I like the story was fantastic, the enemies were fantastic, the gameplay was fantastic. So it does translate really well, especially given it's a story-driven experience. The majority of the game actually will be progressing the story throughout the level, whereas opposed to just fighting and action. And I got to admit that there was more story being translated, brought over to the player and given to the player in this game than there was in the original Dead Space. There was very little story progression actually in the original Dead Space, and here it's actually a lot because you're actually have a protagonist or a series of protagonists that do talk, and there are other characters that you can actually communicate with, whereas in Dead Space there was only two. There were only really two major characters, and three, including the player character. There were three characters. The player character never talked, and the other two characters didn't really talk that much. So it wasn't a lot. These guys talk a lot, and they do have some really interesting things to say, and it really does make for, can I trust this person? Can I not trust this person? Um, so the story is actually really good. In fact, I would say it's actually better than the original Dead Space because there's more of it, and it's a lot better displayed to the player. The game is more action oriented than the first game is. Now you could say, well, there's a lot of action in the original game, and there is, but it's very slow and it's very steady, and it's like Resident Evil in space, as the Spoony one called it. And basically, this game is balls to the wall action and story throughout all of it. And you could say, well, it's hand holding me because it's a rail shooter. Actually, no, it's not. The game can get hard, especially if you crank up the difficulty. So. Um, it also solved a lot of the problems that I didn't like about the original game, which was the fact of upgrading weapons is much easier. The game ranks you level to level on a star system, which is that 1 to 5 stars. And basically, those stars, if you add them up among level to level, there's 10 levels in the game. There are certain star progressions in the game that you can just unlock. Like at 4 stars, you unlock your first unlock, and at 8 stars, you unlock the second one, and that just continues on, and it's automatically unlocked at the end of every level, which is cool because it unlocks stuff like increased telekinesis arm, beefier rig, more health. Um, oh gosh, what else? And the stasis duration is actually can get upgraded to longer durations also. So that takes care of the rig upgrades, and for a completionist, 5 starring every level is can be really time consuming. It took me a week to play through the whole game because I was intentionally trying to 5 star everything, and I was trying to find all the upgrade points. And let me talk about what the upgrade points are. Unlike the first game was about you took these power cores that were in these fuse boxes, fuse box count. You were in these, they had these fuse boxes, and what you did was when you found a workbench, you can put the fuses into the weapon using a circuit diagram and navigate through it. This spot will upgrade the capacity. This will upgrade the amount of damage that it will do. And the problem with that was that the fuse boxes were very few and far between. There were no more than 2 a level in the original Dead Space, and there were I think there were 12 levels in the game, and there weren't more than 2. And you have 9 weapons, the rig, the telekinesis, and the stasis to upgrade. And so there's empty spaces, a lot of empty spaces in those circuit diagrams that you have to literally put in that weapon, which does nothing. Just putting a fuse, but you have to, because you have to bridge the gap from one node to another. And if that is so, you'll be wasting most of your nodes trying to bridge to the next node in a weapon that you constantly are using, and then maybe the fuse box never goes, and you get a different, more powerful weapon, or you might accidentally sell the weapon. Not so much here. This doesn't happen. What happens is that there are hidden in the environments. There are heavily glowing upgrade points. They probably are considered power cores in the game also, but it's very easy. They're very easy to spot. Sometimes though they're hard to get, especially the last one. The last one took me like 2 playthroughs in order for me to actually telekinesis successfully, because it was only on the screen for like 5 seconds. No, not even, maybe a split second. And it's the same thing with a lot of those logs to it, which I'll get into in just a second. So upgrading the weapons was improved. Upgrading the rig was improved. Score was really cool. This game really did work very well for having a star score. I do admit though that I did think that the stars were actually a bit overrated, because I was trying to get through it by 5-starring every level, and it doesn't unlock everything. It doesn't unlock shit if you 5-star every level. The maximum upgrade is 45 stars, and there's a possible of 50. So if you 4-starred every level, then yeah, you would get it. Probably you would probably get, if just by 4-starring every level, you'd probably get all the rig upgrades. So and there's no extra content. There's no extra content unlocked by having a perfect 50-star game. There's none. There is unlockable content though in the game. There are the extra waves of extra, I guess you would call them more like just scored sections of the game that you can replay with more enemies, with waves and stuff like that. And that's basically just scored. And you basically just do it. There's really no point to playing them because they're unlocked by story. Playing them doesn't unlock anything else. And your score is saved, but it doesn't really mean anything because there's no online stat tracking. You're just playing against whoever DS1 was in the list in the game. Probably the Dead Space team. That's all you're playing against, is you're trying to beat the... And again, there's no incentive really to do it, because there's really no... I mean, it's fun if you really just want to play more Dead Space. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun, but really all it is, there's no story in them. They're just basically just fighting monsters. I mean, they're a lot of fun. They are fun, but there's really overall no point to it. And there's also the graphic novel comic, the animated comic that's included. Now, this were included. Anybody with an Xbox 360 or a PS3 would actually already have this comic probably downloaded on their units, and I had it actually on my Xbox 360. The thing I liked about them is that even though they're in standard definition, because the Wii doesn't do high definition, even though the graphic novel is in standard definition, they are uncensored. And that's good. That was, for me, was good. And most of the PS3 definitely the PS3 comics were definitely censored. The Xbox 360 ones were probably censored too. I'm pretty certain they were censored. And any of the downloads I tried to get online, particularly on GameTrailers.com, of the comics, were all censored. What the fuck? Yes. What the fuck? It's an M-rated game. Yes, I'm downloading it through the network, but you don't have to censor it, especially since everybody's swearing every other second. Now, again, like I said, the Wii version has them uncensored, so delete them from your consoles and just play them on the Xbox 360. Like I said, they're not. I mean, play them on the Wii console because they're actually really good. They're very tense. The art style is fascinating. I have to say, I like Dead Space Downfall better. I thought the Dead Space Downfall art style was better. That's just an artistic choice. But so yeah, I did like Dead Space Downfall also. I watched that. I have that on Blu-ray. So definitely give it a go, because the game hasn't been selling well, probably because, like, you know, anybody who would like this game doesn't probably own a Wii. They probably own either an Xbox 360 or a PS3 or a high-end PC rig, and that's what they played it on. That's probably the reason why the game's not selling so well. I hope they release more from this series, the Dead Space Extraction series, if you want to call it a separate series where it's just rail shooter. I hope they do a sequel. I would prefer, in fact, I've asked them about this, I would prefer that they did it on the iPhone, because the iPhone actually, for a rail shooter, is actually really good. Doom Resurrection was really good. So that's my review of Dead Space Extraction. Definitely get it. It's $50 right now, but it'll probably be on sale because it's not selling too well. So this is Maniac, over and out.